I'd like to welcome everyone out to our Layton City Council meeting this evening. It is May 1st. I appreciate everyone here and especially our special guests. I also would like to basically thank everyone for their inputs on everything that we have going on. We've got a lot of different things and it matters to this body. But before I get our meeting going, as customary, we do like to start all of our meetings with a prayer and a pledge. So we take turns individually up here each month, and so this month I'm going to turn the time over to Councilmember Thomas to conduct those events.
Okay, I got to leave for a minute and I'll be back. No.
All right.
I'll give a
Your
prayer,
choice.
and
Your
then
choice.
we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance after. Okay? Our Father in heaven, we're indeed grateful to be gathered together in this council meeting tonight. And we pray as we present items that we may be able to search them out, to understand them, to be able to make a decision that will benefit the city and hopefully those that are in the city. Pray that we may do the right things, or at least the things that we feel will allow things to happen the best way. We're thankful for this land that we have, this city that we have, and the way it is, the way it has grown. We're thankful for the opportunities that we've had to make it one of the greatest cities in the state of Utah. We pray that we may continue to do that as council, as citizens. And these things we pray and thank thee for in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
All stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Thomas. I appreciate that. Council, we do have 3 sets of minutes that we need to approve. Hopefully you've gone through those, and if you don't have any changes, then I would look for a motion for somebody to approve those. If you could mention the date and the meeting. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that we approve the minutes of the Layton City Council meeting February 6, 2025, the Layton City Council work meeting March 6, 2025, and the Layton City Council meeting March 6, 2025.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second that we approve the minutes as written and stated. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, item number 2 on our agenda is municipal events. So I know that some of the council members sit on special committees that have a lot of things going on, so I'll turn the time over to probably Councilmember Roberts.
Thank you, Mayor. Summer's on its way, warmer weather. One of the more popular, I think, events Parks and Rec works on is Family Game Night out here on the Kinley Amphitheater Plaza and in the amphitheater. Coming up next Friday night, May 5th, 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Everything's free to bring your family out. There'll be Mario Kart tournament as usual on the big screen in the amphitheater, different games around the plaza, so different activities. We appreciate all the work that the Parks and Rec department does to plan these events, and as well as the Parks and Rec Commission. So thank you, Mayor.
Okay, anyone else?
So I am with our Layton CTC, which is the Communities That Care, and this is our coalition that is made up of community members, employers, students, and just people around the community who want to show our youth that we care about your health, your mental health. We want you to abstain from substances and all things that can affect you negatively. And so I just wanted to put in a plug for Layton CTC Coalition if there are any of you who want to participate on that coalition, you can go to the Davis Behavioral Health website and look for LAYTON CTC. We are always looking for volunteers, and this month is Mental Health Awareness Month, and also May 11th through 17th is Substance Abuse Awareness Week. And we just want to make sure that our citizens, our youth are healthy and doing well. The CTC is also launching a brain science campaign, which is a campaign that will help parents and adults and youth understand how substances can affect your brain and what happens when you partake in things like that. So if you're interested, if that floats your boat, reach out to me or go to that website. You can also find LAYTON CTC on Facebook and follow all of the activities that we have going on. Thanks, Mayor.
Excellent. Anyone else? Okay, there's a couple other announcements that I know are going to be taking place, so I'd like to bring it to your attention. First off, tomorrow at 11 a.m., if anyone is interested, we do have a museum right next door to us, and they do some fun events. And interesting enough, they've been, I guess, the proper way to say it is they've had a lot of cocoons over there, and they are now hatched. So tomorrow at 11, you're going to see all the butterflies released out into the atmosphere. So if you'd like to bring your little ones or anybody interested in seeing that, you know, you don't see butterflies around too much anymore, so that would be a fun event for everyone to come and show your appreciation to the museum and all that they do for our city. In addition to that, speaking of students, and I'm excited to get to our next one here, but this Saturday is going to be the first Global Youth Service Day. So what this is, many of you are aware of 9/11, how all of us as a community help do service projects throughout our community. Well, this is actually students only. The students are gathering together. They're the ones that's going to do the service projects. So I have to give a shout out to all those students that have already signed up. But if you haven't signed up, you're welcome to come. It's going to be over here at Layton High in the Commons area starting at 9 a.m. and it will go till noon. They've got several projects planned. So like any other statement, many hands make light works. But more importantly, as Councilmember Smith Edmondson spoke about as far as the mental health, there's no better cure than when you're actually serving other folks. So I highly encourage our youth to kind of come out and experience that for yourself. In June, we'll have our Sounds of Freedom car show out here in the park on June 14th, so that's just one to kind of put on your books. So with that kind of concludes our municipal events announcement. So we'll go on to our special presentations. And tonight, we're very excited to see that the folks here in the audience from Layton High School, who happen to be our state champions in the wrestling, we like to acknowledge them as a governing body. And so I would like to ask, is there a coach or the team captain? If one of you guys wouldn't mind coming up to the podium and kind of explain the season and what took place, and then after that we'll go ahead and acknowledge them on our own. But I think it'd be great for you to just embellish here and acknowledge how much these kids have done, because that's unusual.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm Coach Adam Fager. I'm the head boys coach at Layton High School. My 6th year as the head coach. This is been a fun year. This the first three-peat in any sport for Layton High School. This is the 3rd year in a row we won state as a boys wrestling team. So we had 70 wrestlers finish the season that joined the wrestling team. Out of 84 guys that started, we had 70 stick with it all the way through. That's not an easy thing to do, especially with how much I require out of them. It's a big wrestling team. We had to split up and run 2 practices at the same time so we could have room for everyone to practice. It was kind of cool.
Wow.
Cool challenge. We had 23 state qualifiers this year. The most you can qualify for state is 28. So we had 23 out of 28 state qualifiers. We had 15 state placers. Last year we had the most. We had 16 last year, but this year is good. 15 was great. We had 5 state champs out of 14 weight classes. 5 of them were from us. We had 2 second places, 1 third place, 3 fourth places, 1 fifth place, and 3 sixth places. So it was awesome. We had one of our wrestlers become the 3rd ever 4-time state champ for Layton High School, Geronimo Rivera. He's currently committed to go wrestle at Utah Valley University next year. We also, including Geronimo, we had another wrestler. He became they became the 9th and 10th 4-time state placers ever for Layton. We have more 2-time state champs than we have 4-time placers at the high school, like in the history. So like that's pretty special. Cole Fenwick is the other 4-time placer. That was pretty cool. We had 1 person so far since state. We go to national tournaments. We had one person win a national title, Lander Bosch. He was also one of our state champs. We had 10 other All-American statuses. So people placing at these. There's been 3 national tournaments that I consider tough enough to be considered a national tournament, and 10 people have placed at those. We've had this year, we were ranked as high as 29th in the nation, and we ended the season at 38th in the nation. Last year we ended the season at 48th in the nation, so we climbed a little bit. But also something that's pretty cool is that in the last 3 years, since the 3 years we've won state, we've had 43 state placers and 10 state champs and 18 state finalists. So the only reason why all that happens is because they buy in and they work really hard. And I think some of it is, every wrestling team works hard, but they buy into what our coaching staff has them do, and we teach them that wrestling's a lot more than just the sport, that it's about being good men and good members of their community, and the more they buy in, and that, I think that just goes to show that we have more and more kids a part of our team every year, and that finish it out and stick with it. It's not because it's getting any easier. They can tell you that it's not any easier than it was, but they work their butts off. They trust us. We have great coaches and mentors for these young men that very few of us get paid anything at all, and the ones that get paid don't get paid much. So we do it because we want to help these young men become their potential best self. So yeah, that's probably more important than any accolade that I listed, but yeah.
No, that is so impressive, and I'm glad you come up to express that and let everyone know what a fantastic team we have representing our city. I mean, we can't thank you enough for all that you've done, for the time and effort you put into it, and the fact that, you have to keep your grades up in order to participate. But it sounds like you kids are putting Layton on the map on a national level by yourself, so I appreciate that. I truly do. That's awesome. I mean, to go to the state, not just state, but also national competition. So with that, I was going to say, hey, our state or our national gentlemen lead them, but you guys are all winners. So,
Mayor, can I say something before you? Are you going to do like a proclamation or something?
No.
Oh, okay.
Nope.
Well, I can wait then. Sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, because there was so many more stats than what I knew, and that's why I felt like I needed the coach or someone from the team to really kind of represent what you guys have here. And in fact, typically what we'd do is we'd have a treat here for you, but I felt like this time we needed to understand how many kids, how many of you wrestlers were here, so that we can personally deliver them next week. So that's what we needed to know, the total amount, because sometimes we've done this and underestimated, and then we did not want to shortchange you. But from that, I will say that, you know, we do want to acknowledge you and have you guys come up and shake your hands, and especially knowing it's a three-peat. But before I do that, it sounds like some of the council members would like to say something quickly as well. So go ahead.
Yeah. Adam, your brother coached before you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I figured Figures. There's only one family of Figures.
Yeah.
So
yeah, around here.
anyway, so congratulations to that. But more so, and I don't want to brag, but I was one of the first wrestlers at Layton High. And I can't brag because I only won 2 matches. Okay? But one of them was Davis, so I was fine. Okay? And the other thing, if you haven't wrestled, I don't think you understand what wrestling is. When I was that age, we had 2 choices: make the basketball team or you had to wrestle. And boy, we tried to make the basketball team, but needless to say, I wasn't any good at that either. But wrestling was probably the hardest sport I've ever done. And I don't mean that like it was a big deal. It was just a lot of hard work. No one helped me. I mean, there's only one other guy on the mat, and you got to beat him, and no one's going to help you beat him. You have to help yourself. And what do you go? 1 minute, 2 minute, 2 minutes? I don't know what they do.
It's a 6-minute match. So
6. So it was 2.
Yeah.
And that was the longest 6 minutes of my life. And especially when you don't win and you're at the bottom, you know, and they're squeezing you, stomping on you, rubbing your, you know. Anyway, I just want to say I'm a person that exceeds in wrestling. Exceeds
In life.
You know, I mean, you just, because it's all you. And the neat thing about it, life is about, it's all you. You don't get a lot of help and that, but it's nice that you coaches teach them moves. Our first coach at Layton High was a counselor that wrestled 1 year in the 9th grade. So we didn't know anything, but that's okay. We got away with a lot of bad things. But anyway, I just want to congratulate you, because when you exceed at this sport, you've done, I don't want to say more than any others, but you put in time, effort, and you've done it individually, not as a team. And good, bad, or ugly, I think that's the greatest thing in the world. So congrats.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
Sure, yeah. I mean, when I saw you, I was looking out in the audience. I'm like, oh, lots of curly hair. Is that the soccer team? And then I saw some of you boys, and I'm like, that's not the soccer team. That's the wrestling team. But heavy is the crown, right? I mean, it's hard to win, and it's hard to win again, and then it's hard to be the champ and the defending champ to win again the third time. So a lot of great efforts for you guys. I know a lot of early mornings, I'm sure, and a lot of terrible times. Coach, appreciate you dedicating your time to these boys. I mean, there's lots of things that you could be doing with your time, and I appreciate you sharing it and coaching these boys up. Appreciate it. Thanks for doing Layton a good one. So good job, boys.
Anyone else? Go ahead.
I appreciate all of the high schools. I think we have 4 in Layton. Is that right?
4?
But yeah,
High schools?
we got New Ames and Layton
Oh, yeah,
Christian
that's
Academy
right.
as well.
Correct.
Anyway, I appreciate all of them, but my heart belongs to Layton because of personal experience, a way to represent the Lancers. Appreciate you guys. But, you know, to echo Councilmember Bloxham's words, I appreciate how you ended. You know, you're just trying to make these youth the best they can be, not only at wrestling, but in life. So it takes a community, and as a parent, I appreciate all the coaches and mentors that you do. So thank you.
Okay. With that, then, I want to congratulate Layton High, and once again, I'm also alumni there as well. So I think we all need to give them a rounding three-peat applause here, man. And then if you could individually or line up and you guys come up, we would love to shake your hands and congratulate you personally. So with that, let's three-peat this cause.
Right now, I went 145. Strong ones, right? Thank you. I'd like to just mention one more thing that, this kind of shows to the quality of the coach and the mentality that we have here and the fact that it's all about the kids. And the coach never wants recognition. But the coach was two-time, is that right? Two-time state? Three. Oh, another three-peat. All right, I had to get that out of you. So the coach has been acknowledged as the state coach of the year 3 times, correct? Did I get that right?
Sorry. My brother was talking. Sorry. What was it?
The point is I think we owe a personal round of applause to the coach and what he's done, and also for his own achievements as well. So thank you very much, Coach. Okay, and with that, if you kids want to stay around and have your civics lesson, you're welcome to stay with us. Otherwise, you're welcome to leave. However, I will tell you, knowing that you guys are good listeners, you follow rules, and you understand the importance of community and what you've done for Layton, should you like to help us on July 4th, we will have a special invitation for you. You recognize that? Okay, I got a nod from our Parks and Rec director, and we do, as a council, like to pass out popsicles, and we need assistance. However, we need folks that will really follow the rules. So you kids, state champions, we'd love to have you join us. So we'll coordinate that with your coach later.
Or you can pick up trash after. It's your choice.
So anyway, thank you, but I just want you to know if you guys do want to be excused, that's fine.
Some of them have practice. So.
Sure.
Okay.
Use
All
any
right.
excuse to get out of here.
What's up with that?
That's okay.
There isn't any anywhere. I appreciate your folks here that are still here for your patience, but I'm letting the kids go ahead and be excused. But with that, I do want to get our meeting back underway here and need to acknowledge the fact that now is the time for our citizens' comment portion of our meeting. Therefore, if there's anyone here that would like to address this governing body, you're more than welcome to. Typically, we allow 3 minutes. In addition to that, if you are here, in other words, if there's an item here under consent, we typically don't allow you to speak when we discuss that, but if there's something that you'd like to address on that, you're more than welcome to. We do have one public hearing here tonight, which was a rezone request. We've already had that meeting, and we did close the public hearing portion of it. However, this is not typical. I'd like to see how many hands, if you wouldn't mind, raise if you're here regarding the Hobbs Creek Village development. Okay. Do you have a spokesperson in that group? Or?
We all have some comments.
Okay, then here's what I'm going to do. This is abnormal. We typically don't do this, but I think with knowing this council and the way that they do like to hear our citizens, I believe when we get to that portion, I will ask the council if they want to reopen the public hearing. Not knowing how they would say. In fact, maybe I ought to look now. Council, would you mind nodding your head if you'd want me to if you'd like to reopen the public hearing? Okay. Knowing that, if you're here regarding the Hobbs Creek Villas, then if you want to hold your comments until that time, we'll be happy to address y'all at that point. Meanwhile, I'll go ahead and turn the time over to anyone else who wish to address us on any other topic at this time.
Mayor, Council, thank you for your service and all you do for the city. My name is John Pullman. I am the mayor of the city of Fruit Heights, and I also sit on the Wasatch Integrated Waste Board. I stand before you this evening to personally apologize for any of my actions or anything that I may have said that was offensive or was discriminate or was not correct for any of you who serve on city council here at Layton. I truly apologize for any discord that could have come from that. And I publicly want to make that statement that I understand what you're doing, and I understand your position as a city. We need you in our community. As a mayor of a small city, we need large cities like yourselves. And I wanted to personally come before you and apologize for any of my actions. On a side note, when the resolution was first passed by the Integrated Waste Board, I opposed it. I opposed it vehemently. About 9 years ago, we very unsuccessfully tried to roll out a recycling program, and it did not go well at all. Licking our wounds from that experience, the staff, the elected officials did not have an appetite to roll out a recycling program. When the resolution was rewritten, the staff in the city took an opportunity to put together a public poll to understand what the residents wanted and to understand their perspective on recycling. At our last city council meeting 2 weeks ago, we ended up approving a recycling program citywide. We got that bid out by a handful of different haulers, and we are rolling that out at $4 a month per household. That covers transportation, hauling costs, and the can and the replacement. So it will build up our fund. That is neither here nor there, but I just wanted you to know that I stand before you personally to apologize for any comments that I may have had in a public meeting. And I appreciate if you would understand my sincerity with those comments. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Being there's no other comments tonight, then I'll go ahead and move on to our consent items. We do have 5 items here tonight, and typically what happens is we'll have all 5 items presented to us, and then as the council, excuse me, I'm not making myself clear. The point is under the consent items, this governing body can make one vote for all 5 items. So I would just want you to be aware of that tonight. So with that, we'll go ahead and continue with our consent items and the presentation. So the first item, Mr. Steve Jackson is going to present that regarding our wastewater plan.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. It's good to be with you tonight. Before you for consideration is the adoption of the 2024 Layton City Municipal Wastewater Planning Program Annual Report. We briefly spoke about that in the work meeting. I'll go through some of the highlights of that as well. The Municipal Wastewater Planning Program Annual Report is required by the Utah Department of Environmental Quality, Division of Water Quality. It's survey questions that we answer addressing the financial evaluation of the system, the collection system, and the treatment facilities that we have. That third section is not applicable to Layton City because North Davis Sewer District is our treatment facility that we have the partnership with. So. In the financial evaluation portion, just some key stats there. The system replacement cost of our entire system is $400 million. If we had to do that all at once, obviously we plan for replacement and upgrades as we go. So not really a super statistic there, but just a number. Annual user charge is just under $345 per year. The capital facilities plan was updated in 2024, identifying $24 million of projected capital improvements over the next 20 years. And the operating revenues and reserve accounts are in line with the system requirements and the projected expenditures throughout that planning period. So we are in good financial shape as we work with Tracy, our finance director, to ensure that we have the funds necessary to operate and maintain our system. As far as the collection system goes, we have just over 230 miles, of pipeline. Of that, 229 is gravity and 0.4 is pressurized. The largest diameter pipe we have in our system is an 18-inch that is owned by the city. Average depth of all those pipes is 9 feet, with the oldest having been installed in 1956. We do have one lift station, pumps 255 gallons per minute of sewage in that pressurized line that we have. We do have 7 grade 4 collection system operators that are on our staff. Important certification for those operators to operate the system safely and maintain the system as we need to throughout the city. And for the 2024 year, we had no reportable sanitary sewer overflows in the system. With that, staff would recommend that Council adopt Resolution 2525 to authorize the adoption of the 2024 Layton City Municipal Wastewater Planning Program Annual Report and authorize the mayor to sign the necessary documents. Is there any questions that I can answer for the council?
Council?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess my first question is the contractor who installed that pipe in 1956, are they still in business? Can we hire them again?
I'm not sure. I think we actually inherited that pipe from the sewer district back in the day once some transfers happened, but yeah.
I just appreciate I think this is probably the best example of what a city does. You don't see it. It's just all this stuff's happening below, and you hope you don't see it, right? And I just appreciate all the time and effort that goes into maintaining a $400 million system. So all the engineering, public works, appreciate all you guys do. So thank you.
Thank you.
Going off of that last line, no reportable sanitary sewer overflows. That's awesome. And that poses a question for me. Of all that data above there, how often is our system audited or evaluated to kind of what priorities of what needs to be repaired or replaced?
So we actually have used a acoustic technology that we have started implementing. So every 2 years, the system is reviewed through that acoustic process so that we can see where the flows and if there's plugs or things like that, and then we go out and we clean the pipes as well throughout the year. So we try to clean every pipe every 5 years, but sometimes it takes a little bit longer just depending on the size. But every other year we have an acoustic assessment done that identifies those troubled areas that then we get on lists to get repaired and taken care of.
Thank you. And I knew the answer to that question because we discussed it a couple of months ago in our budget meeting, but for the public, I appreciate everything the department does to keep up on those needs and prevent that last line. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions? Oh, one more.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Steve. 20 years, the $24 million projected in capital improvement costs. You're probably reviewing that every year during the budget cycle that we're in currently. What is the review cycle for the for the council as far as, I mean, you've got a projected of 24 million, but I mean, you don't believe it's 24 million?
It's about $500,000 that we have programmed in for repair and replacement this year, and then there's some capital project costs that come in based on development improvements that are happening. Is that what you're asking?
So when do you come to the council and say, yeah, that 24 million projected for 20 years is just, it's more now? Or what's the review cycle for the city council is that line item?
Every year when we submit our 5-year capital improvement plan as part of the budget process with Tracy, that's when those numbers get updated. And then every 5 years when we do our master plan update is when we try and project out for that next cycle. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, we'll go on to item B. Okay, thank you, Mr. Jackson. Item B is adopt our tentative budget for Layton City, and we have our Finance Director, Mr. Tracy Probert, that will present this item to us.
Mayor, members of the council, tonight I bring Resolution 25-28 to adopt the tentative budget for fiscal year 2025-2026, which will begin July 1st, 2025. A couple of highlights from that budget. The general fund budget, just over $49,925,000. That's the fund that we really like to focus in on as far as the taxes and the services that provides: police, fire, streets, parks. You know, a lot of the main things that the citizens benefit from that you can see are provided by these tax dollars and accounted for in the general fund. When we look at the total citywide budget of $128 million, that includes all of the utilities, so water, sewer, storm sewer, refuse, EMS especially are included in that. Even though they're not a utility, it's part of overall and not in part of the general fund. As part of this budget, it includes market and cost of living adjustments for officers and employees, and also merit adjustments for employees. $3.1 million in capital equipment, $23.8 million in capital projects, which includes utilities, streets, parks, and a small additional portion for the dispatch center that's being built. It's anticipated that sales tax revenue, although I put in this slide slightly lower, it's up in the air right now, right? I mean, slightly lower today. Someone changes their mind tomorrow. It might be lower, higher, who knows? But anyway, I didn't mean to add that editorial comment. But anyway, probably flat to slightly lower as far as sales tax is concerned. Some of the major projects: the Emergency Communication Dispatch Center, swimming pool dome, parks projects that are mostly funded by ramp, and street maintenance, mostly funded, well, by the general fund, but also by the transit tax that's collected. And then, like Steve just mentioned, part of the 5-year plan, a long list of utility projects in water, sewer, storm, all those areas. If we just look at it graphically, citywide, our revenue sources, charges for services, obviously that includes utilities. And so, you know, it kind of skews some of the other things when you look at it overall, but percentage-wise, we can see where all of our revenues come from. And we can see where categorically they go. You know, 43% for compensation, about 30% for operations, 20% for capital projects. If we look at the general fund, we can see that sales tax, you know, makes up over 50% of where we generate revenue, and 22% from property tax, municipal energy tax, and so forth. Right now, interest becomes a little bit of a factor, but it's very volatile, and so we'll just be grateful for it for right now. As far as the general fund goes on expenditures, we can see that police makes up 35% of that. Fire only shows 13.7. That's because EMS isn't an enterprise fund. Otherwise, their percentage would be larger as well. So the community can see that public safety, you know, is a big priority, and hence the reason we have what I feel like a very safe community, and you've expressed that as well. But also, in addition, public works, parks, the administrative side of the city, all included there. With that, If you have any questions, I'll entertain those.
Any questions regarding our budget?
Thanks, Tracy. I appreciate this, and thanks for all the additional information you gave us from the all-day budget meeting. That's helpful. Are you seeing? I mean, you kind of mentioned it a little offhand, but are you seeing any pressures on, outside political sources? Kind of, are you seeing any trends in sales tax or maybe even in purchasing on the public works side, or getting, like you mentioned, getting supplies, supply chain issues? Are we seeing any of that? Like, we had obviously during the pandemic we saw kind of it all happen overnight, so we've kind of seen what that looks like, even if it's the worst case scenario. But are you seeing anything in terms of that we maybe need to be aware of for this or future budgets?
I don't know if we've seen that yet. I know that a lot of the supply chains are, at least in my opinion, what I've heard from Steve and Dave, extended out further than maybe what they used to be back before, 5 years ago. Things, you could probably get things a little quicker, but, and so those, either they haven't fully recovered, or maybe those who supply those types of things are just more hesitant to keep a lot on hand. I'm not sure.
Okay.
There's a lot in the media right now about the potential for supply chains to be disrupted. That could affect, it could affect us in a lot of ways, right? Franchise taxes are great for the federal government, but they'll most likely increase the price of everything, decrease the amount of things that are purchased. Does that increase in price offset the decrease in purchase in the way that it affects our sales tax revenue, right? Do we kind of stay the same because prices go up, but amount of purchases goes down? That's possible. I don't know that that's been considered by those who are, making those kinds of decisions, but it could affect us, right? Anyway, that's okay. I don't mean to go on and on.
No, I appreciate that. This is, I think, my 6th or 7th budget. I can't remember. And I appreciate the staff and guiding us, financially, because, as long as we've been here, we haven't had a property tax increase, and there isn't one looked at for this year either. And I think that's a credit to the staff and for helping us run a tight ship around here. And so I just wanted to say thank you for doing that, because, the sales tax, you saw the sales tax figures as compared to the property tax. Sales tax not just paid by us as residents when we go to the store, but it's paid by people who come to visit Layton. But property tax is paid by those people who put us here. And so I really am grateful that we're in a situation where we don't have to have another property tax increase, because I don't know of another Davis County jurisdiction over the past 5 years that has not increased taxes. And so I just appreciate you helping us be a good steward of the money. So thank you.
And for the public's sake, it's not that there hasn't been significant pressure on the expenditure side, right?
Right.
And we've been able to manage that up to this point. We'll see what the future holds, but still, there's been a lot of inflation on the expenditure side, and fortunately, we've been able to manage that well.
I know you like to editorialize, so I would appreciate a couple of minutes and to let people know our debt structure. Because when I tell people about the budget, when I go to there, they're going, what? So if you could kind of just...
Well, currently, Layton City does not have any general obligation debt or any revenue debt. We had one. We paid it off this year. It was for purchase that someone was very wise 20 or 25 years ago to purchase land out by Ellison Park. That is going to turn out to be something fantastic for the city and the citizens, when that gets developed out.
Right.
And so that was well worth, the time and effort. And most of that was paid for by impact fees or by development. And so it was also a great way to bring that property into the city. Other than that, we have not issued debt as a city. I know we do support the fiber optic debt that's out there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And so when you look at my slides, you'll see something that I've labeled that, but that's not general obligation debt or
even revenue debt, where we could go out and bond on our water revenue or sewer revenue or something like that. So in essence, when our auditor comes in, he looks at us as debt-free.
Yeah. And just because I live in Layton and I like to brag about it, and I don't care about other cities as much, but excuse me, how many cities are debt-free?
Not many.
Okay, that's what I want to hear. Probably none.
I don't know. I haven't looked at that. I would dare say none, but
yeah,
there could be a few.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that need a pat on the back. I'm not one of them by any means, but there's a lot of people that work hard in this city to make sure that we can accomplish what we need to do, and we do it very well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great.
Okay. Any other comments?
Mayor, may I?
Yes.
Thank you. Tracy, this is adopting a tentative budget. Could you explain just really quickly the next steps?
Absolutely.
This?
So with this resolution, you will also be setting a public hearing for June 5th here at the council meeting. And so that's when the public they'll have the next month to review the tentative budget. The tentative budget document will be up on the city website starting Monday. And so if there were concerns or issues or, I don't know, pet projects that they're concerned aren't in the budget or something to that effect, the public will have the opportunity on June 5th to come and express those concerns. I like, and I know that you as a council appreciate, that we hold that on June 5th, but we don't adopt the final budget until June 17th, because that gives you time to consider comments that may be made related to that budget. Not all cities do it that way. Some hold their public hearing the same night they adopt, and as a group, we've just determined that that's not necessarily the best way to do things. So we do separate those out. So ultimately, after that public hearing generally gets continued until the 17th. So if there were any additional comments, but then the 17th is our last meeting where we can adopt a final budget that has to be adopted before June 22nd. And so, whatever it may be at that time, we'll adopt it then. And if there are any changes between now and that final adoption, I will address all those changes in those two meetings.
That's good. Okay, thank you. That was well presented. Let's go on to item number C, which is an annexation request. And Mr. Weston Apolloni is going to present this item to us. It's in regards to the Stevenson annexation property, which is at 2073 West Gentile.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. Happy to be with you here tonight. The proposed property for annexation is 58.297 acres, and it's located at, as you said, approximately 2073 West Gentile. The petitioner is Sean Athey with Destination Homes and incorporates multiple parcels, including a Layton City parcel which is a detention basin, which is located in this angled piece right here. And it'll stay a detention basin, just as part of county regulations. When we're annexing it, we cannot annex without. They don't want to leave islands of unincorporated property, so it'll be a part of the annexation request. The proposed area for annexation will have access on both Gentile Street and 2200 by way of multiple parcels that will be a part of the development that have already been annexed into the city. The purpose of this annexation petition is to begin the process to subdivide the property for a planned single-family residential development. Following the adoption of the resolution, staff will initiate the necessary annexation procedures as outlined by state code. Staff recommends the City Council adopt Resolution 2523 to accept the petition for annexation and direct staff to initiate the necessary annexation procedures. Be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions, Council?
Just really quick, you said it will be accessed on 2200 and Gentile. There are stub roads to the south to the other development, right?
You're correct. It will be accessed through that subdivision.
So it'll connect regional developments. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, very good. Well, thank you. We appreciate that. Okay, let's go on to item number C, which Ms. Kim Reed, our city recorder, is going to present that item to us. It's regarding the 2025 municipal elections.
Good evening. I have before you a resolution 2526. Layton City will be holding a municipal election for the mayor and 2 city council positions. This agreement, the proposed agreement, will be with Davis County to administer our municipal election. It will be a by-mail election, as we've historically done. And also on the ballot will be the proposition question related to the ramp tax. Do you have any questions?
Do you want to maybe, just so people know, do you want to mention the dates that they need to be aware of regarding the overall election?
Well,
like the filing time?
Okay, candidate
primary?
filing will take place the first week of June. I think that's June 2nd to June 6th. The primary election, if we have enough candidates file, is Tuesday, August 12th, and the general election is Tuesday, November 4th.
Okay. All right. Anyone else have any questions?
Thanks for that, Kim. And just for the benefit of the public, can you give a little bit of explanation about how it is more feasible economically for the city to have the county kind of run this as opposed to you running it?
In recent legislative years, the legislature has adopted or approved specific audit requirements that would be difficult at best for us if I had to administer an election. Obviously, we don't have equipment. It would be kind of archaic. It would be by paper. I'd have to have trained people come in and count those, determine eligibility. I would be checking with voter registration at the county continually through the process. And then when it comes time for the audit, I'll be honest with you, I've worked elections since approximately 2006, and we did paper ballots at that time, but I would not know, I don't have the numbers. I'm not a numbers person. I would not know how to begin to audit that election with everything that we have to report, not only to the county, but then beyond that to the Lieutenant Governor's office. Layton City is a very large city. We're the largest in Davis County. I'm not exactly sure how many, I believe we have about, 47,000 registered voters. We have approximately 90,000 residents. And that influx a lot, especially last year was a presidential election. So people kind of get all hyped up and they're going to register to vote and they're going to vote that presidential election. And then they have no intention of continuing that opportunity to participate in an election. And so our numbers are quite a bit smaller, but I still have to account for all of that. So that just makes a large process. So I appreciate the staff at Davis County. I work very closely with them. Just so you know, and the public, when they do have the logic and accuracy test prior to the election, I go down and participate in that to make sure that the election equipment that they have is up to date and everything is working appropriately. After the election, they have an audit, and all of these are public. I announce them, they're noticed. Anybody from the public is welcome to come and attend those, but I go down and I proceed through the audit process to make sure that they are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and I have confidence in the county, and the working relationship that Layton City has with them is very amicable and respectful on both sides, so I have the best confidence in them. Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay. All right, thank you, Kim. Let's go on to our last consent item, E, which is an approval of an easement purchase, and our city attorney, Mr. Clint Drake, will take care of that for us.
Thank you, Mayor. We discussed this extensively in a previous meeting, so I won't take long, but for the public's benefit, this is for a purchase of an easement that runs through the open space area of the Peacefield HOA. It's a critical portion of our plan for our secondary water infrastructure. This will connect the Holmes Creek Reservoir to the Andy Adams Reservoir, which is a really important thing for us and we're excited about. We had some negotiations with the Peacefield HOA board, who has the authority to enter into agreements on behalf of the HOA. The property originally appraised for $2,900. There was an initial offer of $15,000 by the city that was made by there was an estimate made by other appraisals that we'd had in the area by one of our staff engineers, and he had approximated a value of $15,000. The HOA has provided a written and signed offer for the original offer of $15,000. And with that, I would submit it. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Okay. Any additional questions, council? Seeing that there's none, then I'd like to bring the consent items back for action. So whomever is willing to take action on that, could you please state the resolution for us? So, council? I have to sing too all the time. You gonna do it, Zach?
Yeah, I'm just thinking here. Can I ask Clint a question?
Absolutely.
We've had all of these items provided. If I make a motion for the first four and then leave the number E, can I do that and then have someone else pick up that motion and finish that? Yeah. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. I move that we adopt Resolution 25-25, Resolution 25-28, Resolution 25-23, and Resolution 25-26.
Okay, do I have a second? Okay, it's been moved in second that we approve the consent items A through D as presented. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much. So, council, that leaves item E on the consent items. Would somebody like to take action on that? And please state the resolution number.
Mayor, I'd make a motion that we adopt Resolution 25-29.
Okay.
Second.
It's been moved in second that we approve item E on the consent items, Resolution 25-29. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Okay. Passes 4-1. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to our the public hearing process portion of our meeting. We have had this public hearing once before, but just for a refresh, I'm going to have Mr. Weston Apolloni go ahead and come up and present to us this concept plan and development for the Hobbs Creek Villas, PRUD.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, again. Before you tonight is a rezone request for a development that contains 13.38 acres. The property is located just south of Highway 89, as identified on the map here, and east of Hobbs Creek. The applicant, Adam Anderson, is representing Goldcrest Homes and is requesting this rezone for the property to go from RS, residential suburban, to R110, PRUD. I will be brief as we went through a lot of details on the subdivision and be happy to address any questions that the council may have. But I just want to quickly go through the subdivision, which is proposed to contain 27 homes, with a few of them being attached units, twin homes. The general plan identifies the subject property as neighborhood residential and allows for this R110 PRUD overlay in this subdivision format. This is a landscape plan for the proposed development, which, as you can see on here, would include a trail. It's a continuation of the Hobbs Creek Trail that is already in existence, and some proposed elevations for the homes. The elevations that we have, there's just 2 here, but there will be more facades as they continue working on this project. I do want to just state that both the PRUD and sensitive land ordinance requires that the applicant submit the concept plan to be reviewed by staff with a recommendation from the Planning Commission and City Council. If approved, this will be coming back for preliminary and final reviews for both Planning Commission and City Council. So this will be reviewed by this body multiple times if approved. On March 11th, 2025, the Planning Commission voted a 3-2 to forward a positive recommendation to the City Council to approve the rezone with a concept plan from RS to R110 PRUD. In addition, the Planning Commission voted 3-2 to forward a positive recommendation to the City Council to approve the development agreement, which is in your packet. Staff supports the Planning Commission's recommendation. I also add that Tim Thompson and Scott Seal from Geostrata, which is the city's third-party geotechnical reviewers, they are also here to answer any questions that the council may have. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Council, do you have any questions?
I do have one question, Mayor, that we didn't discuss in the work meeting. When we talked about this at the last council meeting, there was a suggestion of looking at the different location perhaps for the trail, and I know we touched on it briefly, but would you talk a little bit more about that, and if Parks and Rec was able to look at other options for where that trail could be located?
Yeah, absolutely. Joellen Grandi, our parks planner, is here, and she was integral in identifying that. So if it's okay, I'd like to turn that over to her and have her address that.
Absolutely.
Well, good evening, Mayor and council members. It's nice to be here. Yes, I'm happy to address the questions about the trail. I just want to bring to your attention there are 3 different important decisions that we use to align this trail. The first one is safety. This is part of the wildland-urban interface, and we need to make sure that we're able to get fire access down there. Our brush trucks have a certain grade at which they need to be able to get down into the site. Can't go much higher than 10%. And they also have a certain radius that their trucks must take in order to do those turns to get down. So first of all, we're looking out for safety. We want our citizens and users of this area to be safe. The second one is services. As we talked in work council meeting a little bit, there's the storm drain and the sewer systems that shoot down into the bottom of that area where the trail dead ends right now. And we need to be able to provide the ability for our Public Works Department to be able to access the services for our citizens to be able to enjoy their homes and where they live. And then the third thing is recreation. We want to live in a place where there's a quality of life that you can recreate where you live. And so the Case Creek Trail is our most important trail here in Layton City. Our goal is to be able to connect this trail from the mountains to the shorelines. And currently the trail does dead end at the bottom. And so with those 3 considerations taken into mind, we looked at aligning the trail with the grades to be able to get safety services and then also recreational abilities down in there. We looked at various locations up north. This is the best solution to be able to get a trail from the bottom up to the top and to provide those 3 important parts that I just discussed with you. We also want to remind you there is a fence that will be located along the southern edge. There will be a landscape buffer put in to help provide privacy. And this isn't any different from other locations in our city where we have trails next to homes, and we're good neighbors and we take care of our trails. So any other questions you might have?
So I just have to make a comment. I mean, I was the one that really kind of felt like I wanted to see if there's any other possibilities as far as rerouting, mainly because I know how some of that vegetation is along there. In your opinion, do you anticipate most of that vegetation coming out and you replacing it?
Most of it will need to be the trees that you had expressed last time. Those are evergreens. They have very shallow roots. They would destroy the trail. Adam and his team with the developers have come up with a nice landscape buffer that would grow in and be beautiful and create a privacy buffer from those to the south.
Okay, I appreciate that. I will say that aside from the trees, after seeing the LIDAR report earlier and showing the topography and the slope, I can appreciate now why you've landed on this particular site, and then, of course, for the 3 reasons as stated. So I appreciate that.
Yep, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. There's no other question, then, Council, I'll look for a motion to reopen this public hearing so that we can hear from our citizens at this time.
I make a motion, we open the public hearing.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I'll now open it up for our citizens to be able to make their comments regarding this rezone request. I do know that, most of the council here, as well as myself, took good notes last time, so certainly, you're welcome to touch on it, maybe not embellish on it, but certainly, I know that we also want to make sure that we're hearing you and being able to make the right and correct decision tonight. So if you would, you're welcome to come up to the mic, state your name, and if you have one spokesman for the group, that's great. I'll give you a much longer time, but certainly, you're all welcome to do that. Come up, but if so, then we probably would like to stick to that 3-minute portion. I won't hold you to it, but close enough. So the time is now yours.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. I'm Justin Anderson, Layton City resident. In fact, I'm the resident right there on the corner of 3025. I still stand by my statements from last meeting. I'm not going to go over those, but I have some questions concerning the geotechnical report that I looked at. But before I begin that, I just would like to ask this question. Is there another lot in Layton City completely surrounded by public access and asphalt? I would like to know that, because that's what's going to happen to me. In looking, the original geotechnical report was done by CMT in 2019 for Symphony Homes, and I'll bring that back up here in a minute. CMT stated in their report, the risk from landslides currently appears equivocal, or I believe it to be uncertain, given the above, referencing their report, and the risk of slope stability may be high. They talk a lot about water issues and worrying about irrigation. The one thing that I did not see anything discussed on there was snowfall or accumulation from rainfall, because just south of us, it was not irrigation that led to the landslide. It was 2 days of rainfall that accumulated and led to a very large slide. In the Geostrata report that was done for the exclusive use and benefit of Layton City, Geostrata has relied on, it states, Geostrata has relied on CMT logs, reports, and review responses. It does not represent or warrant that consultants' logs, cross-sections, reports, and review comments contain accurate data or proper recommendations. Geostrata goes on to state, referring to their review of the CMT report, depending on which report it was, come to find out, that their work aids in reducing risk from geological hazards and makes no warranty, either expressed or implied, and shall not be liable for any direct, special, incidental, or consequential damages with respect to claims by users of this review. The CMT report, and from what I could piece together, was the final report provided to Layton City on August 30th, 2024. They have stated under limitations. The information and analysis results contained herein are based solely on the subsurface soil conditions determined by the reference geotechnical study, referring to their own study. And from what I can understand, it was based off what was sampled in 2019. It is possible that soil conditions other than those encountered during the study may exist, which could potentially be problematic. We cannot assume responsibility for conditions of which we are not aware or have not observed. Now, there was 2 boreholes done at the very top, there were 2 trenches done at the very top, and there were 4 test pits done at the very top. The deepest borehole went 50 feet. From the top to the bottom of the toe is much deeper than 50 feet. Nothing was done in the report to look at the toe or anything else on the north part of the slope. I believe this is a problem. If the toe moves, it doesn't matter how much money you spent stabilizing above it. In the report in CMT, it showed a different layout. Now, the difference between the layout shown in that report and here, I believe added 3 additional lots to this one. So that's what I believe has changed. With those boreholes, we've talked about having a perched water table, and also there was a comment made about it kind of being voodoo. Now, I think what was intended to that is when you apply geotechnical calculations, it depends on your inputs to these calculations is what's going to give you an output, depending on what you sampled, what you estimate that should be involved. Now, they referred a lot to Professor Lauren Anderson in their report. I actually studied under Professor Anderson. One of the things he stated to us often as students is you need to use common sense. And so I would ask that these things, common sense be used and not push the limits. I also believe I'd like to know what litigation has these companies been involved in, and are they currently in or had been involved in? I think that's good to know. And the last thing I would like to state is there can be really good engineering, there can be really good contracting. There was a school in Utah County just this week, brand new school, that their parking lot and other things are falling off. And everybody's going like this. So I think the prudent thing to do, this was done in the past. I don't believe the rezone should be done. I think it should be looked at differently. I'm not against development. I think if they want to look at doing a regular R110 and limiting the amount of homes, this seems excessive. Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else who wish to speak on the topic? And keep in mind, for or against, this council would like to hear from anyone who would like to speak.
Hi, my name is Spencer. I'll keep it quick. I'm actually not a resident of the street here, but my in-laws live there as well as friends. I'm friends with Becky and her family. I'm a developer, and so I've actually been through an extremely similar situation in Syracuse. I was trying to rezone a property to a PRUD. It was attached to an existing HOA, and the debate that happened over a couple of years was around keeping the consistency of the existing neighborhood into the new neighborhood. And obviously zoning laws are created for efficiency, but also to protect neighboring properties. And I think tonight, when you make the decision, I think we should be considering the consistency of the current road that is stubbed. So this road at the bottom here is stubbed into this existing neighborhood. And if it wasn't for that stub, I don't think it'd be nearly as relevant. But since there is a road stubbed in it, it reminds me of the project that I also had to get this PRUD zoned. And when I went through the rezoning process for that PRUD, they couldn't hold me. If I got the rezone to the PRUD, they couldn't hold me to standards outside the PRUD, obviously. And that was their concern is, obviously you get the rezone and you can do whatever you like. This is actually pretty detailed on what they're going to do, and so there isn't that concern necessarily. I mean, of course they could change it, after the rezone is done, but they're already concerned about the current plan. I remember having to commit, not having to, but I committed to, the residents at the time that I would try to keep the consistency of the neighborhood. The neighborhood was a more senior citizens neighborhood, and so we committed that we would do single level grade homes that kept with the same feel of the neighborhood, right? And looking back, I mean, I sold half of those homes to people I knew, and they're still happy, still talk to me today about the neighborhood, and they're happy with it. You can see that these people, a lot of the people here are clearly unhappy with the plans, and the plans, they're unhappy with the plans because the plan doesn't coincide with the current neighborhood. And there's a few things that are obvious. The frontages are going to be much smaller. The homes themselves will be more narrow. The developer last meeting spoke to the values of the property, and I think he's completely correct in that these aren't, this isn't affordable housing or anything, and there's nothing wrong with building affordable housing, but it doesn't coincide with the existing neighborhood. And in development, you have four parties. You have the owner of the property, you have the developer, you have the citizens, and then you have the city. And the city's involved here with the trail too, and so there's a lot of parties that are trying to get what they need. And I do think that the citizens have been the one that have been a little overlooked on this plan. And I actually believe that if the property owner and the developer are willing to concede a little bit here, you can move that trail a little bit, keep the greenery that these citizens would really like to keep. And of course, you're going to lose density. And so the result is the owner is going to have to lose some of the value on their property, and the developer is going to make less money, of course. But I do think that from the city council's perspective, when you're thinking about those four parties, the citizens are one of those parties, and because this road is stubbed directly into their neighborhood, we should consider keeping with the master plan zoning of R110. Thanks.
I'm sorry, what was your last name?
Oh, Barber.
What, Barbara?
Oh, Spencer Barber. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay.
Madam Mayor, City Council, Adam Anderson, applicant. I'll be brief. I know we've hashed this out in pretty good detail, so I'll be kind of quick. As I was kind of reflecting, I think we heard of a lot of discussion about historical actions that have happened and things that have happened off different properties, et cetera, as an example of what could happen here. And I think that's a great illustration of exactly why we should be looking at this property a little different. Because I think if we look at some of the adjoining subdivisions and we were to apply today's requirements and conditions, we probably wouldn't approve them as they are right now because of slope conditions, fire setbacks, fault line, building on or around fault lines and scarps. And so I think what that says is this body has looked at that in the past. And you came up with a sensitive overlay saying there's some lands in this city that need to be looked at a little different because of slope, fire concerns, vegetation, all the issues what we're talking about as far as safety concerns. And so you codified all those requirements in your municipal code, which is great because you're saying, yes, there was a slide there, but we need to mitigate that. How can we do that in the future on additional or different properties? Now, I will say this is a different property, and every single property, even on the same property, needs to be looked at differently. As we heard through the work meeting, this was looked at extensively. And I think once the dust settles and you separate the feelings and emotions from the facts, you would find that we followed your ordinance to the T. It said to watch and mitigate for safety, and that's what we've done. Even hearing that we had a previous plan that was already approved. We could have ran that through. We had some really safety concerns as a builder with that. And so we scrapped that, and we came back, and I knew it was going to take time. We had to re-employ geotechnical reviews to say, this is going to take some time, and it did take a lot of time. And your staff was very diligent in making sure that safety was paramount. And to this date, it has been the #1 issue. And so I would say look at this site in its totality on this site because it does require a unique approach sprawl is probably not the resolve for sensitive overlays. I wouldn't recommend copy and paste because those subdivisions around have issues. Why would we copy and paste that to exacerbate those same issues they're having right now? It doesn't make sense. And so I think as a development, as city planners, as a city in general, maybe we look at development differently as we learn and grow and become more restrictive to maintain safety and ensure those standards happen. I would assume in 20 years we're probably going to have more restrictive things. Maybe we have individual fire suppression, or maybe we look at different things that we're not looking at now. And I think that's part of the process. And so I would suggest that this development here at this point, looking back 30 years, would look very different. But we've learned a lot over 30 years, and we've applied different ways of doing stuff. We've done all the work for this, and extensively. In fact, CMT is here. If someone has a specific question or wants to defend his position on how he came up with this, he can certainly speak to that better than I can. I am not that smart, believe me. When we were in that room, my eyes were rolling in the back of my head. So we rely heavily on our experts. And so I'm not making these decisions based on feeling or emotion. It's 100% on fact. And so we feel that this site, we've worked very hard on exactly where everything is placed, and so it's not haphazard at all, believe me. Everything's been thought out. So I understand this is not everyone's favorite layout. It's different. It is different. But the property's different, and it has unique conditions that need to be addressed differently than just a straight subdivision. And so that's why we took that approach. And so I appreciate you hearing that out, and you do have that process in place for that sensitive overlay. And I'm not going to say it's restrictive, it's thoughtful. It forces the developer to be very cognizant of going through that process. Normally, I draw a pretty picture and come to you, and it is all about filling an emotion. Do you like it? Do you not like it? It's a popularity contest. This one is very fact and evidence-based, and that's kind of how you guys require us to get to this point. It's not about what I prefer, or do I like this, do I not like it? It's really what can the site support. So I do appreciate the evidence, the support on that, and the policy that you already have in place is very helpful in guiding through that process. It does take time, but there's a reason for that. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Becky Anderson. I live on 3025. During the last meeting that we had, I sat back in my chair, and then I was really mad at myself that I didn't get up and let my voice be heard. I want to say first and foremost, I appreciate Mayor Petro. She came and walked the property with us. Councilwoman Edmondson spent a lot of time having a conversation about all of these things. Councilmember Bloxham, really appreciate your efforts in coming personally. I'm sure the rest of you came. I've had the pleasure of working with Dave on some other things. So I know the heart. In fact, I'm a social worker. You just heard from my engineering husband, who is the smartest person that I know. I just want to come from a different perspective. As Justin stated, we will be surrounded, which feels, well, crappy. I don't know how you type that, but go ahead. Clint, I start thinking about when I babysat you. I just had to say that on the record. So I told you I'm not going to do that. So I appreciate this body. I want you to know that I have done my homework. I did my homework in voting. I have gone back over what you were running on and the things that you talked about. Tyson, I watched you drive up to this building in your tractor. And I want you to know my family's been here since the 1800s as well. We have a stewardship. And when we look at this, I want you to think about one thing that Mr. Anderson said in our last meeting. And he was really touting this as a really big selling point. Have you been to Balboa Beach? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, if you have been here in Layton, if you love this place and our mountains, Councilmember Morris, the pictures that you post are not of chucked in and houses smashed in. It's of open spaces and being able to see our beautiful mountains and open places. There is a reason why there should be a consistency to this thing. We are not Balboa Beach. For hell's sakes, please don't make this California. That's not what we want. So when we start hearing things like that, and no offense, Council Member Roberts, and I want to clarify this because I had friends who came to support, and they, I think, misread. I hope they misread you because you ended the meeting saying, I am persuaded to approve this rezoning because of the money and the effort that the developers put in. Well, guess what? There's a whole nother world down below that smattering of crazy. And as much as we have heard, like, well, wouldn't it be nice to have, someone mowing your lawn for you? Well, I can tell you tomorrow is garbage day on our street. So there's some sun on all of their faces because we work together. We play together. We love. And for a lot of you, that was the platform that you ran on. And I would ask from a social worker's perspective to see the people, because that's what you ran on. You weren't running on a developer coming from some other place. Janine Stoll is someone that we love. And we don't want there to be some divide. We are not anti-development. We want it to be consistent with the place we love, not Balboa freaking Beach. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
My name is David Tensmeyer. Madam Mayor and members of the council, I didn't speak at the last council meeting. I spoke at the planning meeting. And one concern I have, besides the common sense concerns, I think, of the residents of the street, I also live on 3025, is just the size of the street. I haven't heard anything about the developer, what would be done with the traffic pattern. There's not room to expand. There's not enough room to park there. People will be parking out on the street, and it's already a blind hill where they plan to have a parking lot coming out. And people don't follow the speed limit there. I think there's an element of danger involved with having this many dwellings there without planning to expand the road or the parking on the sides of the road. There really just isn't room as you go around this corner. It drops right off into the valley, and it's tight. My concern, besides seconding what others have said, is just the safety of of having that many dwellings put into that location. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council, Mayor, my name's Preston Miller. I live on 3221 Hobbs Creek. My father and I, we live on the property, and Janine and Sonny have been very gracious to our family to rent on this property for the last, I believe, 12 or 13 years. I didn't move in there until 2014, and man, I have to agree with, I forget your name, Sonny's daughter, that it is a beautiful place. And development it's not to destroy that beauty, but this pattern, this layout is not beauty. I live, regardless if you approve it or you don't, I'm gone, right? I'm a renter. It's okay. But I am a citizen of Layton. I love my neighbors. I love Janine. I love Sonny. And I do want the best for them. But you guys, we live in, like, as Becky stated, this is not something to take lightly. We have the mountains right there. I mean, I work in Ogden, and I get to look at the mountains every day. But I can tell you right now, when you put this many houses in one spot, considering all the common factors of safety, that it doesn't match with the neighbors. I mean, for Christ's sake, you've got two houses that are hooked together in multiple spots. And this is the HOA. And you've got a street where they're not even going to be able to go in there, do any of that. How does that compute with the citizens? I'm sorry that if I come up as I'm just a renter, but again, I love my neighbors. I love that neighborhood. I don't want to look back and be like, wow, it used to be a pretty place. Now it's just a bunch of houses. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council and Mayor, my name is Jeff Hart. I won't elaborate. I've already taken my time, but I want to I wrote all of you my concerns, and there's two people up here that even acknowledged my letters, and it's both the ladies. Thank you. You acknowledged that you received it. You are the only two. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anyone else? Okay, seeing that there's none, I want to go ahead and bring this back to the council here. We have opened up the public meeting, and so based upon your action here, I would appreciate including the closure, if that's what you're doing, and taking action. So with that, I'll turn it over to the council for their opportunity to make a decision. Oh, sure. I'm willing to let you
Thank you. One question I have I believe it's probably for the applicant. Maybe two questions for the applicant. One of those questions is about, Joellen mentioned the trail access and how it needs to be configured because of safety and services and recreation. And in the last meeting, I think I asked specifically about the pavilion that is being proposed on this property, and that the pavilion was supposed to just be for the residents of this new area. And so maybe, Joelle, and this is maybe partly for you also, is that expected to be enclosed? Is there a fence? How close is that to the trail? Because if the public sees it, which there have been questions about that, which I also had questions about that, if it's near a trail and the public sees a pavilion, how do you keep us out of that space? So that's my first question. I don't know who should answer that, but.
I can chime in, and then Adam can fill in if I've missed something, but the trail for the public is at a different grade from the trail access to the pavilion, and so they'll be at separate grades and access, and they'll also be enclosed by a gate with access for the HOA. So there won't be the ability for public to get to it.
And is it seen? Like, can public see it?
Yeah, you'll be able to see it, but they'll be at different grades.
Councilmember, it's a little far off from the pavilion. It's pretty heavily vegetated. I know there was a site visit, and you can see how heavily vegetated it is down there. So from that crossing, it's going to be pretty hard to see the pavilion, but there will be a culvert. The private culvert goes underneath to keep that, so there isn't a nat grade crossing. Just for that concern, how do you keep public from sharing private uses, et cetera? So we contemplated that by creating a separation there where they cross.
And then the other question I have for you while you're up here, Adam, I think you mentioned that CMT was here.
Correct.
And CMT is not Geostrata, correct?
Correct.
CMT is the ones who did the original.
Correct, yes.
And when was that last geotech study and geology study done?
So we've had a number of addendums, I think. Can you speak to that, Andy? Did you know?
So I think that the last...
Do you want to come up to the, mic? Because we have people online that might want to hear.
Thank you.
Yes, state your name, just.
Sure. Andy Harris with CMT Technical Services. So we're their project geotechnical engineer and geologist. We've been working on this project since I think 2019 is when we started. There's been multiple iterations with different development plans. We've gone through an extensive review process with Geostrata and with the city staff as well. Anderson Development has gone in and asked to do additional study to help facilitate some more planning. So I think that additional subsurface investigation was done in 2023, and that was utilized to be able to respond to comments related to the development that the city and Geostrata had provided. So it's been quite a process to get through on this, and I feel like the city has a very robust ordinance and a very good team on their side to help guide the professionals on my side. So,
would you mind answering one question for me since you're up there?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, so just because it was brought up as far as the toe of the project versus the land, I guess the top.
Sure.
Do you want to speak to that on how you feel I guess, any giveaway or sloughing off, and also I have an additional question in that you can answer is, does this property come in to play as far as any liquefaction?
So liquefaction is less of a concern at the site. The static groundwater levels are quite deep. We have looked at the potential for perched groundwater conditions to occur during the course of the development, such as a result of snowmelt, irrigation, things like that. So the modeling for slope stability does anticipate some fluctuation in groundwater levels. As far as evaluating the toe of the slope goes, it's very difficult to evaluate the toe of the slope on this particular property because of its position, lack of access, things like that. However, the geologic mapping does give us a lot of details as to how the geologic units are in this area and the consistency of those units. And we can also do physical reconnaissance, which is what our team did, was actually go down, walk the slopes, look for areas of instability, and then look for physical conditions that are correlated to then the areas that we had our subsurface investigation up higher on the slope. So we did explore the option of trying to access the toe of the slope via the trail there, and we're not able to get equipment in that way. So.
Okay. Council, any other questions? Okay, once again, I'll bring it back to you for action. Oh, you got another question?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, that's
I
fine.
don't know if it's a question.
That's why
Maybe
I
it's a comment, more of a comment. So I understand the residents, concerns with the similarity to what is currently there and all of that. My main concern, and even just seeing I don't even remember the name of it, but the map with all the red, that's what I'll call
LIDAR?
it. In the work meeting, my concern is still what it was last time with regard to the buildable units that are so close to that edge. One thing I think I learned, many things thanks to the gentleman from Geostrata, but one thing that I learned in the work meeting was just not necessarily knowing, you can't have a necessarily black and white, this is going to prevent a slide, this is not, because every circumstance is different, every home is different. And so my main concern here is really for the safety of the homes and the residents who will live there when they are there. So I'm still concerned about those homes around the outside, even though they are within acceptable levels according to the state and also our ordinance, that 109, 110, 117, 118, and property 108. Those 5 are still of concern to me just because of how close they are to that slope. And with all of the land, and behind that or east of that being flat, I would feel much more comfortable and probably not even really be too concerned about the look and feel of this space if those homes were not there, because I have the concern that I have for the safety, and also knowing what has happened in the past. And I appreciate Mr. Anderson stating, look at this differently, but because of the past is why, I feel like we have to be more vigilant with looking at the present and the potential future. And if there is a way to mitigate that by removing them so that they're not even close, there's not even, a potential for the drop off, at least we can say we did our due diligence, or we did the best that we could do by not even approaching those slopes. So that is my concern and my hiccup at this point. And thank you, Mayor, for letting me ramble and not necessarily have a position to take, so to speak, but that's still my concern. And like I said, the picture in the back, that just further supported what I was already feeling. So.
I'll be really quick.
Sure, it's still open.
To address that, and I don't know if this helps your question. Obviously, we got to this point. This is concept. We've done a lot of work to get to this point. We've heard all the experts. But what I will say is, as you have the development agreement in front of you as well, you will see geologists and geotechnical experts are still involved through the whole process. They don't go away. So how do we mitigate that? Well, every hole we dig, they're going to be out there checking every single hole. Now, you don't normally do that in every subdivision. This is more so for this type of work. And so every single hole is going to be looked at and evaluated and determined if it's structurally sound. And then we got structural engineers that will evaluate that too to determine, is there any special mitigation that we need to include in this house that wouldn't do on another one. And so that's an ongoing process. It doesn't stop here. So I don't know if that helps to do that, but it is an ongoing thing. It's not a one and done, we do the report and run away. So if there's safety concerns out there, I know these gentlemen will not put their stamp on anything that's not safe. And so as we dig through this, and it's in our development agreement, we have to have them involved through the process so it doesn't go away. But anyway, I hope that helps. I don't know if it does, but thank you.
Okay, does anyone else have any questions?
I have a question for Clint, if I may. Let's assume this is approved, okay? And let's assume that months down the road, they come back with a preliminary and a final review. Those are administrative decisions at that point, right?
I think because it's in the sensitive lands, there's still some
more wiggle room than we would otherwise have. Okay. Okay, that answers my question. Then I have one other one. In the development agreement, there was an attorney's fees provision in there. And I noticed that I went and looked back at our previous PRUD that we approved, and that was in there as well. And so I guess I have a question if you have any thoughts on an attorney's fee provision in these types of situations with regard to a sensitive lands that maybe has a little bit more of a potential for characteristics that are different than a regular just straight up rezone.
Sure.
And I'm not leading you.
we can take a look at it.
Okay.
Councilman Morse?
Yeah, I was proponent of doing this tonight, of inviting the geotech firms to come and review what they had done. And I was in the work meeting. I guess I was a little surprised as well. I guess in my mind, it was we've done this report, and then we have a third party that reviews the report, and they were here, and just to me there was just some confusion as to what exactly they reviewed, and we looked at the slope map and that was great. I remember from the last time we discussed this, there was the applicant, the developer, he mentioned that as you moved the homes, he had to have another geotech report, and that wasn't talked about tonight. That wasn't brought up tonight. So I was hoping for some more concrete information, and maybe I just don't understand. Maybe and that could be the case. But I wanted a little more information tonight, and not knowing the exact questions to ask, because I'm not a geotech engineer. None of us are. That's why we provided them. And I feel like I'm a little still confused as to what we actually reviewed, what has been done, what has been re-reviewed. And so that's my comment right now. I don't know that I have an action, but I'm just still confused.
Okay.
Where I wasn't last week as far as, what I thought I knew.
Okay. Councilman Roberts.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm right about the same place I was at the end of the last meeting, tagging on Councilmember Smith Edmondson's comments, and to Ms. Anderson. I appreciate your honesty. I appreciate the emotion. Believe it or not, I've been in your situation where my sanctuary, if you will, my home, was drastically changed by a development around me where 400 feet of my property was turned into, rather than an open field, 5 residents. So I understand where you're coming from. Words can be perceived differently, and I apologize if mine were. I'll go back and watch the video tonight instead of going to bed. But my concerns are still there, even amplified by the images we saw. The GIS, I believe it was, the satellite images. That might not be the term, but I just think that we're pushing the envelope a little too far, a little close to that line, and I'm not in a position to approve it now. As I said before, I'm fine with the PRUD because this is a very unique property, and I think it fits here, and I believe most of the challenges are mitigated, with the exception that I just think, as I said, we're pushing the envelope too close to that edge, theoretically and figuratively, and literally. So anyway, I'm not comfortable with this right now.
Okay.
Mayor?
Yes, go ahead, Councilman Thomas.
There's a bunch of confusion, I feel. I felt the same as Clint when the geotechs. I thought that was absolutes, but it's not. It's, and so that concerns me. But it also concerns me, and this is just pure, I don't know what to call it, but I realized that the parks, they do a great job, and they probably put the trail at what they thought was the best place. But I'm just wondering if it could be mitigated to where they could make it still work in another way. And I would like to see that because of what it does to a family. And, we don't always get to make decisions based on things that we would like to. We have to base them on fact and what's the best. And I'm not saying it's not the best, but I would like to see if there is some way we could do something with the trail a little bit to help out. And there's, maybe there's 2 ways to skin a cat. I don't know. Maybe there's not, and I understand that. So that's kind of how, with everything else, I just feel like it's hard to put my thumb and say, yeah, that's right. No, I can't do that. So, but along with what I just said, so.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate this council deliberating on this and really trying to kind of take all the different moving parts into consideration. Obviously, tonight was an education night for all of us. I mean, I appreciate the professionals that were here tonight as far as the geotechs and all the different terminology and facts that really go into it. And I can see where they're a bit confused. It's kind of like those students here tonight. They sat and listened to their teacher once, and now you're asking us to take the exam. So I think that's where this council is, because there's a lot of information there. But certainly it's up to the council to go ahead and take whatever action they need to. But I just can sympathize with the fact that this is a tough decision, and they're weighing out both sides of it. And so with that, I'll stop talking. I know I needed to kind of give you guys some time to think about how you want to approach this going forward. So I'll once again bring it back to the council for action.
Question for Clint.
This Clint?
This Clint.
Yeah.
So I've expressed my concerns. I don't know how the rest of the council feels. If we took no action on this, I know if we deny this, it would penalize the builder, and the landowners by a year. Is that correct?
Correct.
By the same,
yes,
with the same application. If we took no action and closed the meeting, would that be? And I'm open to the council's opinions on this. Would that be prudent to move on, and then the applicant still has options to redesign or try to address the concerns that the council has?
Yeah, that would be one way that you could do it. I think that way would probably require the applicant to consent, because they are entitled to a decision if they want one. But there could be a motion to continue with direction given to staff, the developer, et cetera, to address the points of concerns that you have, if you would like to do that. But yes, you could do that, but if he insisted on a decision, he has that legal right.
Sure. Throwing that out there, I guess I'm open to the council's opinion.
This is your turn to deliberate, so go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Can you explain what you meant by motion to continue? That sounds very legal, like you're in court, and I just need to understand what that means here.
Just basically asking to postpone it so that whatever it is that you want to be looked at can be looked at.
Okay, that's what I thought. That's the legal definition of it, but I didn't know if you meant continue as in move forward with the process, or continue,
yeah, no,
we're going to pause.
No, continue this agenda item to a different meeting. So yeah, postpone and give what I would say, give us and the developer clear direction of what you would like to see. Again, this is a rezone, which is a little bit different thing than if he were to come back with a subdivision that met all the criteria of the current zoning. It's a much different discussion. But because it's a rezone, there is the ability there is more flexibility.
I'd be interested in more care around the concerns that have been brought up by the council, which many of them are on behalf of the residents, but also just the city at large. I agree with the council members as far as this being a PRUD being appropriate for this space, so I don't have issue with the fact that it's a PRUD. And I do note that the developer did not use the maximum number of homes that could have been built. So I appreciate the care there. But I would be interested in seeing what further discussions could take place regarding at least some of those homes around that back edge near the 30% slope.
Okay. Any other thoughts or whatever? It sounds to me like that question was really kind of directed at the developer. But certainly, is there anything else, council, that you feel like you need to ask at this time? Okay. Then I'd invite the developer to come up, and I know this is kind of putting you on the spot, but obviously this council's struggling. Is this something that you're willing to continue to work on?
Mayor, I appreciate that. Thank you, council, for your work. I know this is tough. I'm struggling to hear any specificity. You have ordinances that we followed to the T. Nowhere in your ordinance does it say anywhere that I need to make you guys subject matter experts on geotechnical or geology work. We have experts that are in part of your process. We did what your city asked us to do. And to this point, I haven't heard one specific item, move this house 5.5 feet based on this guidance. No facts at all. I understand a lot of feelings, and I understand a lot of emotion. I can't act on that. I need some facts. And if the fact is I need to move a house 17.5 feet, show me where to move it and use the basis of why I'm moving it. Not because I feel like it, because we have experts that followed your policy you guys put in place, not us. So the landowner deserves some specificity on exactly what this council needs to see to get an up or down on this. If I can get some specificity and understand that right now it's just vague, I don't like it. What am I supposed to do with I don't like it? It becomes a popularity contest. Do I need to send your kids to college? Would that make you like it? And I apologize for my frustration. But we've been working on this for years. And to get to this point and say, I don't like it, do something different, what the heck is that? How do I action that? Honestly. And so please, this is not, I'm not angry or disappointed with anyone specific. I'm just saying this process is as it is. You guys put it in place, not us. We acted based in good faith, worked with your staff for years on this, in good faith. We did everything and more that we were asked to do. There was nothing that we left unturned. And to get to this point and say, I don't like it, I'm sorry, that's just not enough. And so if you can't give me actionable information, give me an up or a down, that's my legal right, I know what my rights are, and we'll take it from there.
Okay.
Is there anything else we can talk about, or maybe some specificity?
Perhaps what might help, and I don't know, I'm just, like you, I've got to sit back and listen, but it sounds like any of the lots that are close to that solid line there that they're following, I think this goes maybe a question to the geotechs. How far back do you think it would be wise to set a home back from that straight line that these guys are looking at?
So we've analyzed the slope stability with the proposed grading with the homes positioned where they are. And
Do you mind speaking up to the mic? Sorry.
Sure. So we've analyzed this with the proposed grading with the positions of the building pads where they are, with the soil conditions, not only for the conditions that are existing on site, but also we specified the composition and the engineering properties of the fill materials that need to be brought in order to build the building pads. So it's been analyzed this way. I mean, if it didn't meet the factors of safety, then we'd look at offsetting the building pads further, creating setbacks, things like that, and other approaches to mitigating it. I mean, it's hard to answer a question with,
That's fair.
We would move it further when it doesn't need to be. It meets the requirements. I think one thing that just to kind of clarify, that's kind of unique on this is that we're specifying some very clear engineering properties of the fill materials because of these building pads and their position on the slope. We had some very good conversations with Tim and with Scott and with Steve from the city about how to specify what exactly we wanted the developer to bring in for materials, because not any old fill material will work. We need to have certain internal friction angle, we need to have a certain level of cohesion, we need to have it have a certain unit weight, it needs to perform a certain way. And so it wasn't a haphazard decision to analyze it the way that it was. I know there's been some implication that we just kind of pulled numbers out, but it's not at all how that works.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other
I appreciate
questions?
that. Yeah. Anybody else? Does that help at all?
May I?
Morse?
Yeah. So the process is the developer, they have to do these geotech reports and studies for the development as part of the ordinance. And then we have a third party
Review.
review it. that's what we had tonight. I don't know if either of you would like to come up and give us your review of what you've seen. I know you did a little bit in there, but I guess I'm still. Maybe you can come up and tell us what you think, if that's okay. Because we don't, to the point that was made earlier, and I made this point last meeting, we have ordinances, we have laws. This body we look at that. City councils before us, planning commissions before us have set this, and it's in code. We have all due respect to the developer, we do have this is a legislative decision, and so when you're asking for a rezone, we can say this or this or this without, it's part of our standard of review. If we don't like it, that could be part of it. As long as we can debate it, reasonably debatable, and I think we've been reasonably debating this all night tonight, last time as well. So I don't know that we're out of order. We're trying to make a decision. And so would you summarize what you have reviewed for us on this project, please?
Sure. Tim Thompson with Geostrata. So we reviewed the reports for the city. Our purpose in doing that is twofold. Primarily, it's to make sure that the reports have been constructed in a way that they satisfy the requirements of the city ordinance. Because those are the laws that kind of dictate within the city what has to be done as a minimum standard. But we also review, and our reviews state this, to the standard of practice. So we understand the practice of geotechnical engineering within the state of Utah here at this time in this area. And we try to make sure that the things that are done within these reports, the way that things are analyzed and the way that assumptions are made, the way that decisions and recommendations and conclusions are reached, are reasonably done within what someone with a similar background in a similar situation would reasonably conclude based on the information provided. Somebody brought up earlier some of the limitations that we put in our review and that the consultants will put in their review. And I think those are important to bring up because the practice of engineering, geology, and geotechnical engineering, it needs to be, two things need to be stated. The things that we know, clearly stated, and the things that we don't know need to be clearly stated. And the process is to, according to the standard of practice, is to reduce risk to a reasonable level. Anybody who writes in a report that they have removed risk is not being honest, and those reports should probably be carefully scrutinized, because even if you're convinced as a professional that you've really got it absolutely right, you have to provide the reader with the perspective that you may have facts in the actual field that you have not yet observed. You drill a hole in the ground that's 6 inches in diameter. The sample that comes up maybe is 2 or 3 inches in diameter, and maybe you drill a dozen of those or 2 dozen of those, and then you dig one foundation and you see more of the soil in one foundation than you saw in all of your explorations. But the principle has to be applied that what we're seeing carefully and with some caveat needs to be able to be expanded beyond its limits and to assume and interpolate between points, or else you simply would have to dig up every single hillside, the entire thing, and look at what it was and then rebuild it when you're done. So there's no way to constructively see everything. That the process would destroy the thing you're looking at, right? So we reviewed those original reports. The reason our review has limitations is I will look at a boring log that Andy produced in the field. And I know Andy, and I assume that he does good work, and I know him. I've reviewed quite a few things of his. But I didn't actually see the samples come up out of the ground. I didn't actually hold those samples in my hand. I didn't run the laboratory tests on them. I saw the results. So I have to give you the limitation in my review that I'm relying on the data that's provided to me, and I'm not giving you any guarantee that that is absolutely the fact, because I can't testify to that in my report because I didn't see it. I'm reading it secondhand and relying on the professional product that someone else has performed. So I have to let you know that that's my limitation. And what I do is I'm relying on this data from a professional that's trained and certified and qualified to do what they do. And I'll read it. Now, there are times when we see a laboratory test we question, and we go back and we may even ask them to rerun a test so that we can verify that we're comfortable with something. There are times when we're not sure if a log was great, and we'll ask for additional subsurface data if we think the data requires it. But if they've met the standard of practice and what they've done meets a certain standard, then that's what we report to the city is, yes, this work meets the current level of care in this area, and the report in total satisfies the requirements of the city's ordinance. That's basically our recommendation to the city, and then all we do is we recommend that the city consider this addressed, but it's up to the city to make those decisions. We don't make them. So what I can say is that there were reports done, and a site plan was assessed, and we reviewed it. There were some modifications after our review to the location, orientation of some of the buildings, and the amount of fill that was being placed. We've had a review of those. We have not provided official review reports, but the review that we did, cursory review that we did, was enough for us to say nothing substantial has changed that would give us concern that the original engineering has somehow become invalid. But we have not done a thorough, full review of this particular plan and the additional reports that were done subsequent to the one that we did. So that's what we told you earlier today, and that we had read the reports, looked at the modeling, looked at the engineering, looked at the conclusions, and generally it seemed to fit with what was there originally and probably what we would anticipate based on the changes that were made. But we did not give it an exhaustive, thorough review. So that's where we are right now. I feel that the question on placement is, there's two parts to that. One is purely on engineering and data and science, and the other is on a lot of other things that aren't that. And I can only speak to the part that's scientific, and there are very valid other items to consider that aren't scientific that I'm just not qualified to give an opinion on. So all we do is give you an opinion on the actual science itself and what that means in a form of recommendations and conclusions. And beyond that, there are a lot of other issues that may need to be addressed that really aren't part of the engineering practice. So I don't know if you have any other questions. Thank you.
That was great. Thank you. Okay, anything else?
Another question?
Another question?
Maybe
Sure.
for Weston or for Steve. It was mentioned that as we start building these homes, the ones that are on the edge, if that's what happens, you mentioned that you'd be doing geotech reports as they're excavated. Who supervises that, and how does that, or is that true, and who supervises that?
And reviews it.
Yeah, and review, for sure.
Yeah, the geotechnical report requires that CMT would be evaluating the digs of the basement. So the same geotechnical company that did the initial report, they would also be required to go out and investigate and watch the sites be dug up. They would be providing a report to the building inspectors as well that was conducted.
Do we have a third-party review of those reports?
Typically
That's not part of the ordinance.
Okay. Next. Yeah, it was. That was a good discussion. Anyone willing to step forward, make a motion?
Fair points, Mr. Anderson. As far as it's kind of vague, are my concerns at least. But unfortunately, they're still there, and we have ordinances to kind of guide us. We have professionals to influence us, but ultimately we have to make a decision. And I'm still uncomfortable with pushing it that close to the slopes, to the sensitive lands areas. So I guess I'll make a motion to close the public hearing and deny Resolution 2516 and Ordinance 2508.
Is there a second? Is there a friendly amendment? Yeah, no, I just had to break the silence is all. That's all I was doing. So basically.
I do want to question. Oh, Dave.
Wait a minute. It's not dead.
Well.
Or is it?
So it has to have a second.
Can I amend it?
Are you open to an amendment?
I have to hear it.
Okay, go ahead and state it.
My only concern is not with the development, but where the trail is. And so with me, I can second what you said as long as we at least look at the trail and where it goes. Because I think, am I saying that wrong?
Well, you're
just to be
so
clear,
what,
he's making a motion to deny, which would mean that there's no more discussion.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
If there was discussion, is my motion dead?
Typically you gotta have a second to have the discussion.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead. Are you going to second?
No, I want to just ask a question and maybe a little bit of discussion about where I'm at on this. I've tried my best to, I've spoken to the developer and the family, understand their position. I know Dr. Tensmeyer, he literally birthed me. He caught me when I was coming out of my mom. And so I know him really well. From the first time I breathed oxygen. And so personal, affinity aside, I've tried to understand some of the concerns. I had a good conversation with Mr. Anderson as well. I'm in a position where I've been on the council for quite some time. This is one of the most difficult decisions that I think I've had. And one thing I do know is that I don't feel comfortable with the flat out denial of the development. I think there's been way too much effort that's gone into that, and it's not necessarily a money thing. It's a time and it's an energy, and there's no reason for us to restart that for a year. That being said, I also am not in the position where I feel like I can just straight up and down approve it as it is. And so I find myself feeling like that's mealy-mouthed, and I'm trying to find a way to not make a decision, but that's actually not what it is. I really want to try to find some sort of position or discussion that would allow us to be able to feel like I could vote yes on it. And so that's where I'm at. And so it's one of those things where does that come from? What is the solution for that? And it's not necessarily like we need to get the parties to mediate, and have a discussion and you guys decide, are you okay with this in that neighborhood? It's a beautiful place. I spent my Tuesday there with Dr. Tensmeyer, and it's a wonderful place. The place on the other hill is also going to be a wonderful spot. Whoever lives there is going to have a wonderful view, and it's going to be a great place in the city. And so I'm not talking about maybe the two of you coming together, but I wonder if there's some way maybe staff can help us through this. What are our parameters before, what are the things that we might be able to identify that we still have concerns about, and give the developer a chance to see if he wants to be responsive to that, because I know that you've had years into this, and if it takes another couple weeks for us to maybe put together something, and then you come back and say, I'm not interested in that, just give me an up or down, at least we've come to a point where you get an up and down, right? And be respectful of your time and the investment that you put into it. But I just don't feel at this point that I can get to yes with as the current situation is. And I expressed my concerns in the work meeting a little bit with regard to some of the not necessarily being a geotechnical engineer. I have no interest in that. In fact, I actually wasn't even in favor of bringing you guys here to talk, because I don't think it necessarily I know a lot more about geology, and I appreciate you taking your time, but in the end you guys have landed where you started, where we already said that this is fine, right? Both the third party and the city and the developers, geotech. So they're all in the same spot. And so this isn't about that anymore. It's about other things. And because it's a legislative decision, and because I think all of us are a little bit, and I can speak for myself, am worried, because just since I've been on the council, we've had situations with sensitive lands. It's in my brain, and I don't want to be party to a situation where I didn't feel fully comfortable if something were to happen in the future. I couldn't sleep at night to do that. And so I'm asking, not necessarily for us to be able to all become best friends and we all agree on the solution, but if it's amenable to you, Mr. Developer, if there's a way for us to potentially continue this and let us maybe get some more concrete ideas about where we might be able to find some areas where it could be modified in some ways, with the understanding that it's your development, it's your application, and we don't want to deny you the chance to do that, but we want to try to give you a chance to maybe answer some questions, not on a time constraint, right? In an emotionally charged environment like this, maybe a chance for you to look at it, when it's daylight outside and you've had some time, and we have some time to actually articulate what we can and can't ask of you, right? Because some of those questions were actually what I started the meeting with. I leaned over to our city attorney and I said, I want to know, I may be asking you some questions about what we can ask and what we can't, because we want to stay within the laws of the city about what we're providing to you, because this isn't a horse and pony show where we just say, yeah, go through the whole sensitive lands ordinance thing, spend all this money and all this time, and we have a property owner who's also a Layton resident. So we have to, I want you to be able to develop your property. You own it. And so we have to make sure that you have your day here with us being able to make a decision. And so that's where I'm at. And that's why I didn't second your motion, Councilman Roberts. Not necessarily that I'm not really comfortable with either of those outcomes. And so if there's a party to that, I don't know, maybe Clint, you can help me with a motion. But if that's amenable, I would make a motion that we continue the decision on Resolution 2516 and Ordinance 2508 to our next meeting, which is the 15th of May, with some, I guess, guidance or clarification about what we can and can't ask, and potentially we may be able to submit some of the information, as a council, and then obviously we can't have another meeting, but maybe we can have those discussions when we come back on the 15th. So that would be my motion.
I think that's clear. Are you in agreement with that? Okay. So is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay. It's been moved in second. This is a public hearing, so I do need to take a roll call vote on that.
Mayor.
Point of clarification, go ahead.
Discussion.
Discussion, yes.
I guess clarification. Are you moving the decision to next meeting or more discussion?
The decision. Continuing and taking this agenda item without any sort of action and moving it to the next meeting.
And at what point are you going to bring in your question and
With the
concerns?
understanding that staff would provide to us what, I don't know, a forum or something for us to be able to present what our concerns are? I'm asking.
So that, we can't have any discussions with the council outside of a meeting.
Right.
It would be in my advice to at least give us some decent, I mean, I understand you're asking me to what kinds of questions you can ask, but I'm trying to narrow it down to what are your concerns and what can we evaluate for you? What can we work with the developer on? What can we work with the geotechs on? What is it that you want to see? I think the applicant's point is valid that if it's just continuing it just for the sake of continuing it, that's not helpful. He needs real information that he can come back and he can understand what the concerns are so that he can make appropriate decisions as to whether or not that works and whether or not they can make it work and in a way that would address those concerns.
Okay. So we're already in a public meeting. So we can just provide what those
absolutely
those concerns would
you're
be.
totally this is the place to do it. Okay. And you have a wide berth when it comes to what you can ask when it's a legislative item. There's obviously been some, as Councilmember Morris indicated, you've got your legal standard is reasonably debatable. I think there's been plenty of information here that can be understood as reasonably debatable. There's some obvious concerns from the council that have been articulated. This might help just to maybe steer the conversation for you. If we could just narrow it down to, first of all, is the issue the PRUD? In other words, is it you just don't like a PRUD and it doesn't fit in this space and that's not what it should be? Or is the question, does a PRUD work in the right circumstances?
Sorry.
I was just going to say, yeah, I mean, I can articulate my concern. I'm on record of being I'm often a dissenting vote on the PRUD for many reasons. But in this situation, it's not fair for me to penalize a current applicant because I don't like the PRUD. That's unfair to the applicant. I have to see if it actually works with this particular area. And the PRUD is not an issue necessarily with me because of the sensitive lands overlay on this. My concerns are somewhat similar to Councilmember Smith Edmondson, in that I was curious if there was a way for us to potentially remove a few of the homes as part of mitigation purposes. Now, and I know that's a big ask, and that's why I wanted to give the developer more than just tonight to decide that, whether that even works for him. Because I think in discussing with Bettina, and I'm going to turn it over to you now because we had this discussion, that I would feel like I could potentially support it if some of those issues, maybe 109, 110, 117, 118, those ones are the ones that cause me a little concern, particularly with some of the information that we received from the LIDAR today. So that's where I'm at. And if that's not able to do that, then that gives me another understanding that they just can't accommodate that. But that's mostly where I'm at, is I understand it's an interesting and unique piece of land, and I don't want to be involved in being an engineer. That's not my desire. I have no interest in that. But there's something about the way that those ones are set up that is just keeping me from getting to yes. So that's where I was in terms of at least articulating where my concerns may be.
Thanks for the ball. I'll take it. That's exactly the concerns that I have. And to me, in response to Mr. Anderson, this is not I don't like it at all on my part. That's not ever, I don't think, as Councilmember Morris mentioned, there are decisions where, we could say that, but that wouldn't be prudent to the residents of the city, present or future. So this is, to me, is not about, I don't like this development, I don't like this developer, or any of those things. That wouldn't be a wise decision for anybody who's elected to make decisions based on, because I don't like it. For me, there have been geotechnical studies in the past because that's the way that the state operates as well as the city operates. And as has been mentioned tonight and previous nights and other meetings where this was not on the topic or the agenda, that we have had issues. And so, as you know, the gentleman from GeoStrata mentioned, you can't be 100% sure about any of the things, because of where we live, the type of soil we live on, the fact that there's a fault line here, just on this picture, but also in our city. Whoever's lived here long enough knows that, right? Our state, we're on a fault line. And so, yes, I'm not an engineer. My mom is, but I'm not an engineer. And so, in my assessment, I would feel much more comfortable with those homes being removed completely. It's not my land, it's not my development, it's not my money, I don't have any skin in that at all, but it would be prudent for me to be able to say yes if those were not there, because I don't want to, as Councilmember Bloxham mentioned, have to respond to a resident or look at someone in the face who says, oh, I bought this home and in 2 years, you know, we have 2 days of rain again, or we have a lot of snow, and their house is sliding because they're settling, and we had an opportunity to try and work with you and say, well, is there some wiggle room? I wouldn't be able to sit well with a decision, yes, if that were to happen when I'm asking for that opportunity. Is it necessarily my right? I don't know. You could answer that. You're the developer, and so you do have the right. But as is right now, I would be a no, and I'm fighting hard to not be a no. So that's where I am when it comes to the way that the layout is now. There was a development on the west side. I used to live right around where this is. Now I live on the west side. There was a development there where the question was, does this development have to have 80 homes? I think it was 80 homes. You know, can you lower that? Yes, I know that there's less profit in that, but if there's a way to get to still profit and still be able to make it good for the entire citizenry, then can we do that? And that's where I am on this. You're correct, I'm not an engineer, and I don't want to be. But these are the concerns that I have, and as an elected official here, I feel it's my duty to ask these questions. And if it's a no for you at this point, it's probably a no for me.
Okay. I'll try to bring this back around. We've had a motion to postpone the decision until our next scheduled meeting, which is the 15th, did we say? May 15th, with the caveat that specific questions, concerns are directed to the staff so that we can then have a discussion on it prior to making that decision.
Maybe I can narrow it down a little bit. The only, I've heard two concerns, but not from they're not, well, they may be, but I haven't heard unanimously from anybody about concerns. But the two that I think I've heard, and maybe there's others, so obviously speak out if there's others, but the two that I've heard are the proximity to the line and the trail.
Correct.
Are there any other issues that have been vocalized?
So I am, once again, I respect the work of the geologists and the geotech engineers. It is a science, but it sounds like it's also a little bit of an art, which maybe it's a little bit of art and a whole lot of science, and which I believe is why you can't guarantee anything, that the fine print is there, and so I think that should give us some pause too. And so the LIDAR information that we saw earlier, the question of there was a little bit of a question of the line down below on lot 118. I was prepared to come to the meeting with, oh yeah, okay, yep, yeah, this is an easy one based on the geotech, and so I just wasn't because of that. So I agree with my counsel, with Bettina and with Zach on the concern. I'm not concerned about the trail though.
Okay, it was my concern too.
First one.
Councilman Thomas.
Yeah, I hear everybody's concern, and like any person, you're going to have feelings that, allow you to go different places. But I also look back at, we've got 2 geotechs, an engineer, and I don't know what else, but they've come to the conclusion that this can work if what I'm reading is right. And so I have trouble going against that in that respect, because it's, people that have said this can work are a hell of a lot smarter than I am, which doesn't mean you're real smart, by the way. But, and so I have trouble saying, well, I'm not so sure, and that. And so, I feel good about what's been done. I feel like they've done it to the best of their ability. Not that maybe some things couldn't change, and so I have trouble going against that. The thing I have, to me, the only thing that was left was the trail that could go maybe another place or in a different route, and that, which I don't think needs a lot of geotech or whatever, and that to facilitate some things. And so that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay. Thank you. I think we've heard from all of you now, and I think I understand your direction you need to go. I'd like to kind of bring this back around for some action. I mean, basically, I have a motion on the table to postpone the decision until our May 15th with 2 concerns that have been stated. And at that point, we will then have our discussion and bring it back for a vote. So with that, I also have a second by Councilman Morris. So I need to understand if you guys are in favor of that or not. So I will take a roll call vote at this time. So I'll start down here with Councilman Roberts.
Yeah, I want to explain my vote, though.
Certainly.
I'll vote no on this because out of respect to the developer, asking them to remove a couple homes could include a redesign, which I think we've been kind of vague, and maybe more a number of feet setback might be more fair to the developer. But I'm on a no vote to this. I'm back to my original question of no action and giving the developer more time, but not setting a shot clock on him. For that reason, I'm in favor of postponing, but not a specific date. So I'll vote no.
Okay. Councilman
Yes.
Bloxham? Okay. Councilman Morris?
Aye.
Councilman Smith Edmondson?
Aye.
Councilman Thomas?
Aye.
Okay, there you have it. We have made a decision that we will wait until the 15th, and at this point, the public hearing is still open. So with that, council, that was our last item on. No, we did not close the public hearing, so that's why I wanted to make sure that was made aware. Sir, you can speak at the next meeting.
No, you came in late.
Yeah, sorry. You're welcome to speak at the next meeting because we did leave it open. So with that, that was our last item on the agenda tonight, unless there's unfinished business, which I believe there is on our regular work meeting. So we still have item number 7 on our work meeting to address. So we do need to go back into our work meeting for a closed door discussion. So with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn our council meeting, re-adjourn in our closed-door
I
session.
move that we adjourn the council meeting and return for a closed-door session.
Okay. Second? Yeah, I do want a second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, any opposed? Okay, thank you very much. I really appreciate everyone here tonight. Thank you again for being here, and another shout out to